to piano lesson number 37. Today I'm going to be talking about how to teach your kids how to play the piano. Now, I've gotten some questions and emails from people basically asking, well, your lessons, are they meant for kids, and what should I do to teach my 3-year-old daughter or 5-year-old son or 7-year-old, all these different kids. So if you don't have kids, this lesson probably isn't going to be for you. But if you do have kids or you just want to teach a young kid, maybe they're not even your own child. But yeah, so if you want to teach someone like that, like a little kid, that's what this lesson is for. So we're going to be getting into different methods to keep them motivated, different ways to inspire them, to build their rhythm, to build their recognition, their musical ear, and start developing different skills like that. So let's get started. Okay, so first up, I just want to cover why you might want to teach your kid piano or music. Okay, so one of the first things is piano itself has many benefits on a young mind. But if you're older and you want to learn piano, that's still going to benefit you, because in general it does benefit you. But in particular, kids, it benefits them even more. Because when you're born, I read this in a science journal before, you're born with like 100 trillion synapses in your brain. Okay, now each synapse is connected to a web of other synapses, and it creates this big neural network that goes on in your brain. Basically, those synapses are like the potential of your brain. Like anytime you learn a new skill, it involves the synapses. So what happens is you start with 100 trillion of them. Now, by the time you reach middle age, like 30s, 40s, whatever, that number's gone from 100 trillion down to 500 million. Think about that. That's I think I'm gonna get this wrong. I'm not very good at adding this in. Well, anyway, it would be like a million times, or I'm not gonna even say that, not a million times. Anyway, it'd be a lot less brain capacity. That just made me look extremely bad at math. Okay, anyway. When you've got light shining on you and a camera filming you, it's hard to think math on your feet. Anyway. Okay. So, 100 trillion to 500 million is a very big difference. Now, what has happened? Why the big diminishing? Usually we get smarter as we get older, don't we? Well, yeah. The thing is, when their baby's born, it's going from 100 trillion unused synapses. Well, there's some being used, of course, but very little amount. And then when they get older, only the ones that are being used are the ones that stay alive. So in other words, if you learn to tie your shoe, that's going to keep that synapse alive. And when you learn to drive, that's going to keep those around. And then people get into their little routines, right? And once we've gotten to this certain age and we don't bother learning anything new, that's actually why it's important to continue with music and expanding your brain when you're older, because then it fights off problems like dementia and whatnot when you're older. Basically, it'll expand your brain out farther than just some average kid that isn't doing anything extracurricular and not stimulating his brain. He's only going to push it out this far. And then the other ones outside that he's not using will just die. And then slowly the brain shrinks and the capacity to do things shrinks. You notice how really old people are really stuck in their ways of doing the same things. That's not really, it's mainly to do with their synapses and personalities solidifying and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not a brain doctor or anything like that, so I could be getting some things wrong. But that's my understanding of it from what I've read and researched. Anyway, okay, so basically what I'm trying to say here is that by getting a kid into music or art or any other thing, especially music and the piano, because it's got so many benefits. I'll get to those in a second. Basically, you're expanding their brain farther out, kind of like a balloon. You're blowing more air into it than the average person would blow into it. So by extra stimulation creates a more used brain and could lead to bigger achievements later on in life. Now, some of the benefits of this bigger brain that you're going to use, you're going to stimulate memory. So they're going to have better memory than the average person that isn't doing anything extracurricular, like if they're just sitting around doing nothing. Because you have to memorize where the keys are, you have to memorize like concepts like sharps, flats, treble clef, rhythm, notes, the way the piece sounds, different interpretations. Like, it's so many different types of memory that you're involving. And always learning new concepts and skills all the time. The other one that was the new skills. You're basically learning a new skill with every new piece you do, and you're going through the stage of learning that piece, and then you learn another one and you suck at that piece, and then you get better and better and better, and boom. It's going through those stages of learning. And what I found is that by doing this, I've found that I can teach myself and other people can teach themselves skills easier and faster because they know the steps of learning, because they do it every time they learn a new piece. So it helps them learn new skills in other environments and teaches them discipline, not to give up. Some of the kids that give up on piano, well, then maybe they didn't learn that lesson. But yeah, okay. What else does it do? Well, there's a couple other things. One is dexterity in the fingers, and also I think it'll improve like the way they use their body and their arms, because they're trying to control it. Other things will do that as well, like playing outside or knitting. Okay, another one would be goal setting. Goal setting is something that you're doing when you're doing piano. You're setting a goal to learn a piece, you're setting a goal to memorize it or perform it or take an exam or whatnot, or perform. So that's another one, goal setting and achieving goals. So there, like, the list goes on and on and on about all the positive benefits for learning music. Okay, so that's that. Now, if you've decided that you want to teach your kid music, let's go to the next step. Okay, so the next step is you gotta make it fun. Okay, what do all kids like to do? Well, have fun. Even adults, we like to have fun. So if something's fun, what are we going to want to do? We're going to want to do it more, right? Yes. So basically what I'm trying to say here is a lot of people have the approach to teaching a little kid, like the parents, that it has to be disciplined and they have to follow all these sets of rules, like, oh, you must play the right fingers position, you 3-year-old or 2-year-old. And doing this, it might get good results, you know, it might turn them into like an 8-year-old that can play whatever, but it's not going to be that they're going to have fun. Like, I know, I've seen kids that, you know, they're finishing their ARCT and they're playing like Fantasy Impromptu by Chopin, and they're like, you know, 9 or 10 years old. The problem is, you talk to them after and they say they don't like what they're doing, they don't enjoy it, and as soon as their parents stop letting them do it, they're going to quit it. So what's the point of that? It seems kind of counterproductive, doesn't it? And it's not really turning them into musicians, because musicians have a passion within themselves for the music itself, right? Okay, so if they have a passion for music and they're playing music, then that person is a musician. Someone who's being forced to play music and is just playing the notes, but they don't really feel anything and they're not really wanting to do it, I wouldn't really call them a musician as much as I'd call them a copycat or puppet or slave to whoever's pushing them to do it. That's what I think anyway. Of course, you may have your own opinion about that, but I think you get passion from having a positive experience, and I know when I was a kid, I had a positive experience with music, and that was mainly because of my parents and my teachers. So, that being said, okay, what can we do to make it fun? Well, that's another interesting question. So, what I would start with is, it's going to vary from different kid to different kid, because older kids aren't going to be as amused as easily as younger kids. Now, if you're asking what age should I start my kid with, well, it's kind of a tough question to answer over a video camera. It's going to depend on the concentration level and of each kid, pretty much. Some kids are just like, whoa, I can't handle anything, and others are like, yes, and they're asking questions and doing stuff like that. So if you feel that your kid can basically listen to you and follow instructions and, you know, carry on a conversation for more than 5 minutes, then you can take 5 minutes at a time and go to the piano and do some things. If they can't do that yet, I'd wait a little bit longer. Generally, I'd say you could start maybe around 2 years old with a very bright child, maybe 3 or 4 if they're a little bit less socially interactive. But I'd say probably around 4 easily you can start just having fun with them at the piano. Now, before they even get to be that old, you can start doing things too. You can start playing the piano for them. So when they're very young, they're very observant. In 1 year of a toddler's life, they absorb more information than a college student does in 4 years for a degree. So you can be feeding them information in music if you want them to go on in it. Now that can be them seeing you sit down at the piano and smile and just goof around on it. That can be you taking them to concerts, playing classical music for them, exposing them to all that fun stuff. Okay, then when they get older, what you can do is you can sit down and play little games. Now at this point, you're not going to want to actually limit them to like, okay, here's your 5 position C position, and you're going to play these notes really, really like this. Yeah, just do that. Not going to be very fun. What you've got to do is intrigue them and show them, look at this instrument, it's marvelous. Look at all you can do with it. Look, there's little birds that tweet up here. They're making little songs. It doesn't even have to sound that nice, so you can just play around. Right? Whatever. That can be little birds tweeting away, and they're maybe talking about another robin, and they're trying to get away from the cat that's chasing them. So they're, just whatever. Whatever you want to do. I'm just making stuff up. I'm not making up my whole ideas, though. I've thought about them for a while. Okay, next, we get into the mid-range. You can show them, oh, these are like dogs and cats. And maybe that's the cat, and then the dog's like, whatever. So you can play around with like the little dogs and cats, and they're like, meow, meow. Oh, I feel like such a fool. Just meowing to a camera like this. Okay, but anyway. So the next thing is you could show them that these are like bears and tigers. And, they're just raw. Maybe they can go. They're just having a blast. They're kind of heavily trouncing through the woods. And so there can be little birds flying through here. It doesn't have to sound like music yet. It's just getting them kind of like having fun with the piano and associating piano with fun time. Okay? Because fun time starts to build a passion to go play more fun time. And that creates musicality in a musician. So, once we do that and we're playing, you can play around, so you can maybe chase them up the piano. You can sit at the low part and they can sit up high because they're all small, and they can hit little keys up here. And you can, oh, I'm going to chase you, and then they can go up and down. And maybe you can chase each other back and have a couple laughs. Or you can reach over and play some keys, and they can come over. Now those are all just different fun little things. You can try, okay, match what I do. I'm going to hit this key, I want you to hit that key too. And we're going to hit it at the same time. Something like that. Or you can say, I'm going to play really softly. Can you play really softly too? Show me how softly you can play. We're going to go to sleep. And then now we wake up and we're going to have fun. And then you play really big. Now I'm not going to do that because it might be too loud for the camera, but... So those are some ideas there. Now other things you can do away from the piano are clapping, copy me. So you clap something, get them to clap it back to you. Now as you go longer, maybe you guys can try to clap at the same time together. You can clap something like that, just together, so that you're involving them in a rhythmic exercise. See, it's those little small basic things that you wouldn't think that would be very useful that are actually going to be very beneficial. Okay, next thing that you can do, besides clapping, are you can basically get them to do ear tests. So this could be them looking away from the piano, and you at the piano and you say, okay, which of these two notes is higher than the other one? And you play this. Which note was higher, the first one or the second one? And they'd go, the first one. Or they might say the second one, and then you have to show them why this is high, like a little bird tweeting, this is high up, and this is low. We're going to climb the piano. Oh, and we've got to the peak of the piano. And now, the rock rock climber slipped and he's falling. Oh, he hit the bottom. One flat rock climber. So you can have lots of fun with those kind of things. Then you can show them the pedal. You can show how it holds things. You can show them the saw pedal. You can show them those. You can start to name keys when they get a little bit older. So you can go, this is C here. And can you find me another C? And then you can see if they can identify the groups of 2 and 3 black keys. Now, I'm just going through a lot of these things because I'm assuming you've seen my other lessons, so you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, go back and watch all those. And that'll help you understand, because you're not going to be able to teach your kid too much if you yourself don't understand very much. So, try to learn stuff yourself and also play piano, because when they see you do it, they're going to want to copy it until you become a teenager and then they rebel. Then you want to stop playing the piano and say that it sucks, and then they'll just be like, oh, well then I'm going to play it to spite you. Anyway. Okay, so you do that. You can play little chromatic scales. You can show them, the 3s go on the black keys. Can you play all the black keys with your 3rd finger? Oh, and also getting back to this whole, which note is higher thing. That's great for teaching them their ear. What you could do next after that is play 3 or 4 notes and tell them which one was the highest. So you go, which one was which one was the highest out of all those 4 notes? And they would say, well, I think the first one was the highest. Okay, so you'd play a couple of them. Then when they get better, then go, well, okay, I'm going to play 2 notes, and I want you to tell me which one is which. This one is called a C, and they would just be hearing this note. This is to develop their ear for perfect pitch, if they have it, or, relative pitch. And then play another note that's farther away, so G. Now, can you tell me, this is C, this is G. Listen to the sound of that note. Okay, now, I want you to tell me, which one am I playing? Now, if they answer C, they're going to start memorizing that sound is a sound of a C. And that's a G. And then you could fill it out to this is a D, and that's an A. And this is an E, and that's a B. Of course, this is going to be over a longer period of time. But yeah, so you go over things like that, and that's going to help a lot with starting to develop their ear, and the clapping will help their rhythm, and then they can do little exercises with fingering in a minute. So I'm going to get on to the next topic here. Okay, it's not really the next topic because it's all one topic, but the next kind of chain of ideas. Okay, so some of the other things you can do with them when they get in, more comprehensive is you could do things like, okay, I'm going to play like I'm swimming around. I'm swimming on the water, or the boat's riding the water, or whatever you want to think of that helps us. I'm going down a slide. And then I fell off, and I'm just bouncing along the ground. Or you can be like, let's make popcorn. Then you could also show them a very small pattern, maybe like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Can you copy this? See if they can copy that in the order that you played them in. Then when they get bigger, give them newer pieces, bigger pieces. And I wouldn't go too big too quickly. Try getting a beginner book, showing them, this is 5-note scale. Now this would be, once they get into maybe 6 or 7 years old, or 5. It really depends on how quickly they're catching on. You might have a really gifted child and they're like, catching on to everything quickly, or maybe you don't. Either way, either one can benefit from it, because even the person that's not completely gifted, with enough work and practice, they can become good and proficient in music. Okay? And it still won't take away all the benefits that learning music will get you. So yeah. Okay, so let's keep going here. So, you can play staccato, you can play legato, you can show them, okay, can you copy this? See, what you can do is you can basically introduce them to concepts. This is a slur, where the first note is accented. Now, they don't have to know that it's called a slur or that the first note is called an accent because we're playing it louder. all they have to know is that you just do this. That way, when they get older and they get a piece that does this, or in some other way, they're going to go, oh, I already did that before, and they already know how to do it. See, it's not important if you know the name of what you're doing. It's if you know how to execute it properly. That's the important thing here. So, you can show them and introduce them to things that they can practice now, that they don't know what they're doing, but they're going to know, they're going to be able to do it later when they're learning. Okay, so those are my topics there. You can also show, tryouts. You can just show them and just get them to do them for fun. Like, hey, we're going to make a little horsey, and he has 3 legs because one of them got chopped off by an evil farm. That'd be a little bit too gruesome. But yeah, you can make up your own story for that. Maybe it's a caterpillar with 3 legs. It goes like this, and it crawls its way up the keyboard. And it's trying to keep it as straight as possible so the other caterpillars don't make fun of it for wobbling. So it's trying not to do this because the other caterpillars will make fun of it. Just use your imagination. I just made that up on the spot, by the way. Okay. So you can show them that, show them different keys. You can talk about pretty much anything as long as you can make it fun and imaginable and make it exciting. And the biggest thing that the kid wants is it just to be fun and probably just to do it with you. That's it. If they're having fun with you at the piano, I don't really think they care what you're making them do because it's like a game and it's fun and they're with their mommy or daddy. So I think that's what's really important, is to just have fun with them and feel free. Every second you're at the piano, you don't have to be trying to accomplish something or have some hidden agenda. Even just, that can be fun too. So take those opportunities to do those things with your kids. It'll pay itself back in later years. And I'm sure you'll enjoy it too. So even if it feels like a guilty pleasure, just go ahead and do it. Like, what's stopping you? Because you know what? When they're 15 years old, they're not going to want to go over to a piano and do that with you. They won't. So, okay. Now, next thing I want to cover here is the benefits of playing classical music for them to hear it, like, often, and to take them to concerts. Concerts show them what people making music actually look like. It puts them in the environment, and it allows the child to see, like, firsthand where the music's coming from. Because if you just turn on a stereo, it's coming out of the speakers. So it doesn't really give you a feel of, like, real human music. It's like it's coming out of artificially some little box, and they don't know how that works or anything. You take them to a performance, and I'm sure you'll see a big difference in the reaction that they give, because they'll be seeing real people playing something and making a sound out of it, something that sounds nice. And these will be professionals, so they're going to be, very well musically capable, and that'll positively influence their musicality. Something I like to think is, and a mentality I have, is that if you listen to bad music that has no tone, it's made by people that don't know what they're doing, and it sounds bad, you're going to start latching onto that badness and you're going to start emulating it. If you only listen to good music, people with good tone, they know what they're doing, things like that, it's going to start to flow into you and naturally come out of you. So you'll start to copy, subconsciously maybe, what you're listening to on a regular basis. So it's good to expose yourself and your kids to good quality music because, well, if they don't know what good music sounds like, how can they get ideas, right? And I'm not saying that because you want to copy everything a good musician does, but the thing is, there's something about listening to music and understanding what's happening. And it would be a very kind of cruel thing to try to make someone a musician without hearing what music can sound like first. Because it's taken probably, millennia, like thousands of years to get to where we are today. Like, before music was written down, it was still being played. And I'm sure after much trial and effort, they made, oh, this is what good music sounds like. And this is how we get the best tone and whatnot. So to benefit from all the history of before, well, you might as well take advantage of it and listen to it so you can catch up to what's being done and then try to take it further, right? You wouldn't, if you're going to become a scientist, you're not going to ignore all the data that everyone else has studied and just be like, well, I'll have to work out all the theories by myself and then I'll try to advance science. That'd be kind of a waste because people have already gotten all the answers already to that. So you should focus on what people haven't done. So in other words, my whole idea here, or message that I'm trying to send out, is listen to classical music, take what you can from it, listen to good recordings, listen to good tone, evenness, like a really nice sound, something that is pleasurable to listen to and doesn't like hurt your ears and make you go, oh, stuff like that. That will make anyone a better musician just by listening to things like that. There's some teachers that actually require their students by year to attend a certain number of concerts, otherwise they won't teach them, because it's that important to them that it's an educational experience. So think about that next time the symphony comes to town or you have an opportunity to be at one. So take those opportunities, make it fun, enjoy the time you have with your kid when they're young and impressionable and they're taking in all this knowledge, because you can feed them more than you would think. Even if you can't talk to them with words yet, you can still play for them, you can still do so many different things, like little games on the piano like I've been talking about. Okay? Keep their motivation up. When they get older, when they get to a certain range, get a teacher for them, like a piano teacher, and make sure that you pick a very good one. You don't want someone that is like mean or like unmusical. Get them to play for you. Interview several teachers before you just pick one. Think of it this way: if you were just going to leave your kid with someone, who would you just leave them with anyone, or would you make sure you pick the right kind of person? Make sure you pick the right teacher, because if you pick a wrong teacher, it's going to cripple them for the rest of their life if they've started off with a bad teacher. Okay? Sorry, I'm not trying to scare you or anything. But yeah, it's important. I just see a lot of parents, they just pick whatever teacher they see. And it shouldn't be like that. I mean, you go to the store and you pick out a tomato, and you don't just pick any tomato, you squeeze it to see if it's a good tomato, and you check its firmness and like different things. You're always looking, so don't do the same. Make sure you find a good piano teacher. Check at least 5 or 6 of them out if you can. And technically, like an expensive piano teacher doesn't always mean a good one, but in most cases it does mean they're good. But let their character be the judge of that, and what they say and what they do and how they present themselves. Anyway, so take care. I think that's about it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you guys got some ideas that you can use to help teach your kids music. Music is a very, very wonderful endeavor to pursue. It's really an art, and you can express yourself even when you're like 80 or 90 years old. I haven't gotten to that point yet though. I haven't gotten to be 80 or 90, but I've heard from people that are older that, you know, you can still enjoy it when you're older. And I don't see why you couldn't. Unless you get to be very bitter about something. But yeah. Anyway. Okay, so enjoy passing this along to your kids. And the thing I'd like to stress the most out of everything, make sure that both of you guys enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, or they're not enjoying it, it's not going to be a very good and pleasant experience. You need to make it fun and enjoyable. Okay? That way, it'll be some of the best memories of you guys' lives together. Okay? Awesome. Take care. Happy practicing. Bye-bye.